All right, what's up, everybody? It's another episode of Stand Tall. It is January 26th, and we are in chapter 6 of The Art of War, verse 29. Military tactics are like unto water, for water in its natural course runs away from high places and hastens downward. So, physics is like water, right? So he's calling into the fact that water takes the path of least resistance, starting high, and it very easily gets down, right, and flows downwards and hastens downward. And so this is the importance of why he talks about high ground and having high ground, but you also have that vantage point. And then military tactics being like water, it's fluid. Whatever is the path of least resistance, you have to find it. Water naturally finds it, and you have to find that in order to achieve victory. Let's go here to the alternate translation. Master Sun says, military formation is like water. The form of water is to avoid the high and go to the low. The form of a military force is to avoid the full attack and the empty. The flow of water is determined by the earth. The victory of a military force is determined by the opponent. So they combine all of those together in the alternate translation. So let's just go back to get clarification. Military tactics are like water, for water in its natural course runs away from high places and hastens downward. 30. So in war, the Tao is to avoid what is strong and to strike at what is weak. So in war, the way is to attack the strong, avoid the strong and attack the weak. 31. Water shapes its course according to the nature of the ground over which it flows. The soldier works out his victory in relation to the foe which he is facing. So kind of like what I said, right? So like water shapes its course according to the ground, like it as it encounters it, as it finds the path of least resistance. The same way you, the commander, the soldier, works out his victory in relation to the foe that he is facing. You have to adapt immediately. Yeah. So 32 is next. We're not there yet. And to this, Li Quan says, how can you ensure victory if not on the basis of the enemy's own posture? Right? If you're, otherwise, it's make believe. Otherwise, you're denying reality. And if it's not for the posture of the enemy, which can be yourself, which can be your bad habits, which can be your bad mindset, those things, if you're not aware of what they're actually posturing and you're just, all of it comes into play. Okay. A light brigade cannot hold out long, so if you keep it under siege, it will inevitably lose. A heavy brigade will unfailingly respond to a provocation and expose itself. If the opposing army is angry, shame it. If the army is strong, get it to relax. If the opposing general is proud, humiliate him. If he is greedy, bait him. If he is suspicious, spy on him right back. Therefore, the manner of victory is determined according to the enemy. So that was like an interesting conversation actually that I just had with one of my managers, my foreman, one of my higher up guys at lunch, talking about one of his direct people who he's responsible for. And he was like, "Well, I'm thinking about giving him an ultimatum," and I'm like, "Well, I don't know if an ultimatum actually is going to work. I mean, it might work for some people, but for this particular employee that we're talking about, I don't know if that's the way to go. I think you need to appeal to something else within them." And we've kind of talked about that. I ended up having to step in, and my strategy and what I chose to do was to appeal to his higher self, to appeal to the version of himself that he may not even have confidence in himself that he can be, but that's the person that I think he can be. Um, so I'll hold him to that standard. Whether he chooses to hold himself to that standard or not, based on how he says versus what he does, will be up to him. All right, over to the Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman. The power of a mantra. I just wrote kind of about mantras last night. Before I even read, the post that I did on my website was essentially about like being bipolar and dealing with seasonal affective disorder. seasonal affective depressive disorder and being bipolar, so it's like a double whammy sometimes when I get in that hole. Um, but like I think one of the first positive affirmations that helped me out on the other side of that was like I love myself, I love myself, I love myself, based on one of those books that I read. But it helped. But also I wanted to point out the power of negative like spirals, negative reinforcement, the synchronicity that you can allow yourself to so easily fall into by repeating negative things to yourself in your head. So anyway, let's see what this one's about. Probably not that. Erase the false impressions from your mind by constantly saying to yourself, I have it in my soul to keep out any evil, desire, or any kind of disturbance. Instead, seeing the true nature of things, I will give them their only due. I will give them only their due. Always remember this power that nature gave you. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations 8.29. This power that nature gave you, like evolutionarily, like this is inherent in all people. Anyone who has taken a yoga class or been exposed to Hindu or Buddhist thought has probably heard of the concept of a mantra. In Sanskrit, it means sacred utterance, essentially a word, a phrase, a thought, even a sound intended to provide clarity or spiritual guidance. A mantra can be especially helpful in the meditative process because it allows us to block out everything else while we focus. It's fitting then that Marcus Aurelius would suggest this Stoic mantra, a reminder or watch phrase to use when we feel false impressions, distractions, or the crush of everyday life upon us. It says essentially, I have the power within me to keep that out. I can see the truth. Change the wording as you like. This part is up to you, but have a mantra in case you use it to find the clarity that you crave. Yeah, I think like you have to base that also like on what evidence you have. You know, like what evidence is there that you have that you can look back on and reinforce that mantra. And as you hone your mantra, right, like are you using it to like positively make decisions on the other side of things? So if it takes redefining yourself, do it with intent and do it with purpose, just like we talk about with the tactics and the art of war and the stoicism and the ability to be hard and like to be hardened by life and ready to accept and be like water and adapt to any formation that we might come across in order to achieve victory.